Hey y'all, I'm Allison Asarch from Nashville, Tennessee.
Hey, I'm Sean Frazer from the Ritzy Kids.
Hunters, this is Johnny from Rail Motor.
Hey, it's Shane from Blind Season.
Hey, it's Rob Stanier, and you can check out my music on all the streaming platforms.
Check out my latest music on all the streaming sites.
Check out my debut album on all streaming platforms.
Check out our new debut album.
Check us out on Spotify and Apple Music. And you're listening to our friends, Braggy and Curly.
My favorite bands from Australia.
My two favourite podcasters,
Braggy and Curly.
Braggy and Curly.
On the
Unfiltered and Undiscovered Podcast.
Hey there, everyone. Raise your bats, raise your glass, and welcome to episode 100 of the Unfiltered and Undiscovered Podcast. How are we? Let's welcome our co-host down there in Adelaide. We've got Braggy, and of course in Sydney we've got Rossi. How are we, guys?
Very good. I'm very good.
I'm pretty good, Tony.
I don't want to talk about footy, though.
Okay. I think we've got enough to talk about. We've been inundated with questions, which is really, really cool. So we've got some video questions and we've got some viewers who have just written into us, which is awesome. I think Big Stewie, our country music correspondent, sort of missed the brief. He thought the whole show was him hosting, and he sent through about 3,000 questions. So,
Fucking hell.
I chopped that back a bit. So, but yeah, it's going to be a good show. Hey, look, one of the common things that we did get through was how did the podcast get started? So I just thought I'd share a little bit of the history of the podcast and how it sort of evolved into what we do today. And fundamentally, the former host, the former co-host, and it was a guy called Matt. And during the pandemic, he was locked down in Melbourne more often than not. And his mental health was really quite challenging. So he used to come on another podcast that I had, which I sort of shifted into a leadership podcast. So, you know, he wanted to get on a podcast and just talk about what he's going through. So we just started doing the Bailey and Curly Unfiltered podcast, and just to have something for him, I guess, and for me to look forward to while the pandemic. It started off in about, of course, in 2020. And from there, it just sort of evolved. And, you know, we got Braggy on, we got Sean Frazer from the Ritzy Kids on, and we just started to really fine-tune what the whole podcast was about. Like all good things and all good bands, there's always going to be a split somewhere. And unfortunately, there was a split. So the former guy, Matt, went on and moved on, and Braggy sort of was already doing co-hosting at that stage as well. So we just carried on from there. I think that was about episode 29 or 30, if I remember rightly. One of the early podcasts, and really the early podcast is just just talking. It was just me and my conservative conspiratorial best, I guess. So, but one of the podcasts we did was actually when Matt shared a story about him pashing with a girl with his mask on, and I thought it was the most fucking ridiculous thing I'd ever heard in my life. Anyway, that's the title of that particular episode, and it still is one of our most listened to episodes of all time, pashing with your mask on. So, you know, a shout out to Matt. He's got an EP that we're hoping will come out soon, I guess, but he's been working on it for the last 2 or 3 years. And without Matt, we wouldn't have had the links that we have with our friends, Allison Asarch and Sean Frazer. So, of course, we wish Matt all the best.
Yeah, here's the Matty. Hope the EP comes out soon, and hope it's killer.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's a little bit of the history, and then we started to focus in on the music. And I still remember Braggy's brother Mark sort of having a bit of a dig at us, because I think every week there for a stage we were changing the name. We went from Unfiltered to Undiscovered to Unorganized, and he said, "Can you just get a name and stick with it. So we sort
we're
of
still
stuck with
fucking
Unfiltered
unorganised.
Yeah. So Unfiltered Conversation, and of course we talk a lot about undiscovered music. So one of our favourite people on Facebook, Kat Gunn, sent us a congratulatory message. She wrote, congratulations on making it to the 100 episodes. All the best things take time and last the distance. While I've only recently jumped on the You and You bandwagon, I've thoroughly enjoyed tuning in weekly and watching the podcast evolve in that time. The banter, the knowledge, the insight and enthusiasm for music from the team keep me tuning in and has helped re-spark my passion for music, introducing me to new artists and reacquainting me with ones that have dropped off my radar. Time to raise your bats, gents. Well done on scoring a century. So, how nice is that?
That's lovely. That's lovely.
Kat.
The only bit of news I really want to talk about, all I've got, is the Birdmen are back in the news, and I sort of missed this, but they've released a book called When the Birdmen Flew, and it's an illustrated type. I'm presuming it's like a coffee table book. It's jam-packed full of photos, memorabilia from 74 to 2007. So the band's archives and scrapbooks have been collected by a lifelong Radio Birdman fan, George Muniz, with additional items supplied by other Birdman fans all around the world. So that's available now, I think. I think the first pressing has sold out. So we're a little bit late to the party.
Okay.
But they're taking pre-orders again for the next lot, and that's available at highvoltagepublishing.com.
You going to get your head in one of those shots there, Rossi, you reckon? Backstage?
No. Yeah. They're an interesting band, I think.
Yeah.
I think that as a Queenslander, you had the Saints down here. We had Birdman.
Yeah.
Melbourne had the birthday party.
I was listening today to the Saints at Paddington Hall, that famous gig they did with the Birdman, and it's like 17 minutes of just pure gold. And when Chris Bailey talks about the Hitler Youth because of the insignia, so you could sense the rivalry.
That started a feud.
Well, I bet you did.
The Hitler Youth are up next.
Yeah. So the only other news, of course, is I'm heading to Boston very soon to run the Boston Marathon. Just Eliud Kipchoge, who is the world record holder, Olympic marathon hero, the only guy in history to ever go under 2 hours in the marathon, is also running. And by the time my wife and I start the race, which is about 11 o'clock, he's going to be finished. So hopefully he hangs around.
Hang on a sec.
Home.
He ran the under 2 hours, but he had a pacer, didn't he? He had guys pacing him, didn't
he? They had laser lights.
Not that makes it any. Not that makes it any less fucking unbelievable, but still.
So it's running 21 kilometers an hour or something.
Yeah,
mate. It is running for how fast the marathon in kilometers, Curly?
42.2.
42.2. It's running 42 point something kilometers and running every single 100 meter of that faster than I can run 100 meters.
Yeah,
I haven't run 42.2 kilometers in the last 30 years.
So it's really interesting at expos and whatnot. They'll set up like a running track, and they set it at the pace that Kipchoge runs his marathons.
Yeah, right.
And people just fall. They just can't keep up. So it's like 3 minutes a kilometre he's running. So it's incredible.
That's
for 42
unbelievable.
of them.
Yeah.
All righty. So
wow.
Now for that famous segment that we all love.
Hey.
It's Who Am I? It's Braggy's Who Am I? We need like an intro for it.
We need a
I think
sting.
so.
We need a sting.
I think so. Must be your go, Rossi. I did the country one. I reckon you might have to do this one.
I'll do your sting.
Okay. Okay, you ready?
Yep, go for it.
I was born in August, Victoria, on the 29th of January 1943. My father, Robert, was a farmer from Keniambo near Shepparton, and then a World War II Army sergeant who served with the AIF in Port Moresby. My mother, Isabel, was from August and married my father 2 months after his enlistment. I have two younger brothers, Brian, born in 46, and Robert, born in 50. My family moved around during my childhood, and I grew up largely with one of my grandmothers in Quambatook, where I attended the local primary school alongside future country music artist John Williamson. I also stayed with several aunts and was raised in the traditions of the Church of England. My father, no longer a farmer, ran a hardware store in Kyambram, while my mother had periodic hospitalisations for mental illness, including some years at the Larundel Mental Asylum in Bundoors in the mid-60s. During this period, I developed a musical interest in Gilbert and Sullivan and Verdi.
Oh, he's got me. He's got me.
Not for long, I haven't.
I never have an idea.
It's very good. I was intrigued.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, you know it's probably Australian, at least with all those city town names.
And one of those pesky Victorians.
And a Victorian, see?
Yeah.
Okay.
Alrighty, so first part of the Who Am I? So if you can guess it, good on you, because I've got absolutely no chance. Now, tonight we're doing a reverse panel. We've asked our listeners and our viewers and some of our favourite guests it's their time to ask the panel a question.
I'm looking forward to this.
We've had some really good takers. I've given the guys a little bit of a heads up because a lot of it is really quite deep thinking sort of stuff, and I just don't have enough deep thinking music sort of, so I had to give them a bit of the heads up.
Lucky Rossi and I have got beards.
So we're going to start with
time.
So we're going to start with Cat Gunn, who's also Cat has supplied us some lyrics for the Servo Pie song.
Really?
Yeah. So keep going, Cat. We love you, and we love the fact that you're engaging with the podcast. That's brilliant. That is beautiful. So Kat's asked a question, and it's a challenging one. You know, the music gods can create one musical event for you to attend, the Beatles, but they're playing Led Zeppelin songs, or Led Zeppelin playing the songs of the Beatles. Which do you choose and why? So let's kick off with Braggy, shall we?
It's a no-brainer for me. I mean, I'm a fan of both those bands, but I'm going to see Zepp playing the Beatles songs because I do love the Beatles, but I reckon they just had a little bit more guts in some of them songs. They'd be fucking unbelievable. So that's the way I'm going to go. Okay. Zepp playing the Beatles.
What about you, Rossi?
I'm going to go exactly the same way for a slightly different reason. Because, like, Pagey and John Paul Jones played on all those 60s hits anyway, right? So they've got it in them. So they'd know what they'd... Because Beatles playing Led Zeppelin songs, they just turn them into, like, A Day in the Life.
Yeah,
like Led Zeppelin.
Not going to work.
Led Zeppelin songs, some of those Led Zeppelin songs would go for 15 minutes already, you know. So I think the Beatles songs played by Led Zeppelin would be fascinating because Pagey... Like, you know, he played on some of the Yardbird stuff and Donovan and all that sort of stuff. I reckon it'd be a really nice, fresh take on that stuff. That's what I reckon. What about you, Curly?
Yeah, I'm probably going to go the same way. I would like to see a bit more guts in the Beatles songs. And yes, I'm not as deep into the Beatles as you two esteemed gentlemen, but it'd be nice to see a bit of, like, heavy depth into the music. So I think that's the way I would go too. So
you know, it's viewed that Helter Skelter may have been the first heavy metal song.
Could well have been.
And it was played on a bass 6, which is like a 6-string guitar that's tuned an octave lower to be a bass.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the Munsters theme was played on one too.
Yeah, I mean, I want to hear Pagey playing some of those Beatles riffs, like, dun,
Yeah.
dun, 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 really
Oh,
cranking.
yeah. Pagey playing
so,
Day Tripper.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be... Because, listen to that. He's got it going on, right? He's got that 60s going on.
Extended jam in the middle of it.
Can you imagine?
Mate, it would be beautiful.
John would have loved it.
Yeah. Paul would have tried to cut it down to a 3-minute song.
Yeah. And just the fact that you're replacing Ringo with John Bonham too. Wow.
Yeah.
Excellent.
But would John Paul Jones have to fight Billy Preston for keyboard duties?
Ooh. Good question.
Yeah.
Interesting. Kat sent us another question. She said, what is the best life advice you've got from a song lyric? Rossi?
Nice boys don't play rock and roll.
Oh, where's that from?
Rose Tattoo's song, Nice Boys Don't Play Rock and Roll.
Oh, yeah. It's a good one.
And the line is, I'm not a nice boy, and I never was.
Okay, Braggy.
Well, if we had written it already, it'd be I love a servo pie, but can't be that. So I'm just gonna be sappy. I'm gonna go back to the Beatles. And I'm gonna say all you need is love.
Yeah.
Oh, how beautiful. There are so many song lyrics that I could have chosen with this, because I think there are so many song lyrics that have just gone through my life. But I'm going to go with the lyrics that from a band called The Jam. So some people might say my life is in a rut. I'm quite happy with what I've got. People might say that I should strive for more, but I'm so happy I can't see the point. So Going Underground by The Jam.
I like that. I like that. Yeah. I like that. That is really good life advice. You got two choices in life. If you're not happy, you can either change it or learn to be happy with the way you are.
Yeah. You know, you look at some of the songs that Paul Weller wrote, like "Shout to the Top." That's just another one. That's just a magical song if ever you're feeling a bit down in the dumps. And so there's heaps out there. Ups and Downs, Living Kind, man. Even Ups and Downs wrote a song called "Moments Away," and it's just one of those songs that just fires me up with in the chorus there, and the way it just sort of ekes away and then builds up. So lyrics, great questions, Kat, and
thanks, Kat.
Awesome. Then we had the Big Stew. Now, I know, Braggy, you're going to be really horrified by this, but he wrote the questions, didn't put them on video. He's such a shy guy, isn't he? Such a shy guy.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's hard to get him out of his skin.
So, if you had only 5 minutes of life left, what song would you listen to and why?
Who's going first? Me?
Yeah, go.
Yeah. You know what I'd do? I just go to the Spotify and just put it on random and just leave it up to fate. Whatever fucking comes out, that's my last song.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a really tough question, isn't it? I'm a little bit like you. I'm just sort of, maybe I'd go for the Angels coming down or going down, whatever. Looks like
it's coming down on me. Yeah.
A Queensland song.
Am I ever going to see your face again? That sort of fits in with the last 5 minutes of life, doesn't it?
Yeah.
I'd grab Born to Run.
Oh,
baby,
what a song!
Oh yeah, okay.
The whole album, everything on that album, I love.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. Fair enough. That's a good choice.
I wonder if the length of your life left would be dependent on the song, because that way I'd go for Bat Out of Hell by Meatloaf.
Oh, well,
to at least eke out.
I'd be
I'd
ready
go
for
for-
In a Garden to Beat Up.
Yeah, I'd go for Space Trucking by Deep Purple. That's
The
the
line
whole side of the album.
made in Japan version.
Yeah, that's the one.
That's the one.
But yeah. So that's
You wouldn't be
great.
going for, in that case, you wouldn't be going for a Ramones song, would you?
So, no, you wouldn't.
You'd be out of there quick. Or a Pocketwatch song.
That's right. A minute and a half.
Oh, beautiful. All right. Stewie also asked, what obstacles have you encountered with the production of the podcast, given the distance between you guys? And very relevant tonight because we had microphone issues with our Adelaide connection.
Well, the problem we've come across a lot is that we haven't got a fucking clue what we're doing. That's the main problem. So I don't know.
Fundamentally, I think most of the obstacles when it's just us three on, we normally have a pretty stress-free sort of a time.
Yes.
We've got the setup, we've got the kit. It's pretty easy for us to do. I think the biggest challenges that we have is the organisation before the podcast.
Yeah.
Font colours.
Yeah, font colours. Yeah, and
Yeah.
and I guess every now and again we'll get a guest who
Sean from the Ritzy
Isn't
Kids
quite-
Internet's been a problem.
yeah.
I was going to say data links. I was going to say data links are the biggest problem. And
Yeah.
and if we all had fibre internet at home, it would have been a better world.
It would have been so, but yeah, it's that's probably the biggest challenge we have. Just every now and again we get a guest that doesn't or may not have the setup that makes a seamless experience. But overall, I think we go all right. Every now and again, like Sale of the Century Simon's episode, someone gets a little bit out of sync, and that's just purely the platform that we use. But I think overall, I think we go okay.
Yeah.
Especially unless, of course, I'm trapped in the studio.
Yeah.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah.
Sometimes that doesn't work. It's the Sydney internet. It's not that good, I feel.
And every now and again, like today was a bit of a check-in just to make sure that we're all on time in respect of daylight saving.
That's
right. But overall, I think we make it happen somehow.
Yeah.
So, yeah. But great question, Stewie.
But I will say Tony does do most of the heavy lifting, doesn't he, Bragg?
Oh, without Tony, there is nothing. He's the man.
No Tony, no show. He does
Yeah.
all the work.
Yeah, Rossi and
why
I
I need a
just
credit
Rossi and
on
I
the
just the
survey
pretty
part.
faces.
Curly's all about the leadership.
Yes.
You guys are all about the Glen A Bakers, and that's why I really want to get the Servo Pi up, because at least then I might get some musical credit somewhere. So. Hey, and then Stewie, I gave him 3 because, as I said, he gave me 3,000 questions. If every single musician was available, who is the one musical artist that you would love to have on the podcast, and why? Who wants to go first?
You'll go, Rossi.
That's really, 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 really hard.
It is.
Do you know who one of my favourites is? I really, really love Matthew Sweet. American singer-songwriter.
Oh yeah, I got
Fascinating.
that. I got that one album.
Girlfriend.
It's got a picture of him on the
Waiting and-
front. Yeah.
Oh, is that the one with him on the front as a kid? That's 100% fun.
Yeah, that's the one I
Fantastic
got.
songwriter.
I love that album.
Great
I love those songs.
He's a great songwriter, great singer, interesting bloke. I think he'd be fascinating.
Yeah, I'd forgotten all about him because now I play the vinyl and my CDs are locked away, and I've got to get that out. Listen to that. That's killer. I'm gonna go back on what Curly just said. It's unusual you brought him up before, Curly, but I'm going to say Paul Weller, because I want to understand how you go from the jam and then you come out with the Style Council, which is just so different. And then now, if you've listened to his stuff, his solo stuff, it's different again. He's like a chameleon. I'd love to get him on, and then maybe have Willie Nelson on to supply the refreshments as well.
I bumped into Willie out the front of a gig one night.
Oh, did you?
At the Lansdowne Hotel in Sydney. I walked out the front, and there he was.
Wow. You didn't meet him around the back later.
No, I should have.
There was no smoking ceremony there or anything.
No, not that night, which is what crews do, as you know.
Yeah, crews got to be. Yeah.
But when you're talking about Paul Weller, that last album by the Jam, The Gift, I think it was called, that's got Beat Surrender on it. Beat Surrender is an amazing song, and you can see where Weller was going, where Paul was going. And then, lo and behold, up pops the Style Council. So
that's
but then after that, though, like there's an album called Stanley Street that he did. It's got Changing. It's got and he's still doing it. He's like I don't know how old he is, 70. He's still killing it too.
I still love going back to Live Aid videos and watching the Style Council with DC Lee, and it's just they were just too cool. And what was the keyboards player again? Is it Talbot?
Talbot.
Yeah, he used to have the rocking keyboard that would move. So they were just too cool.
Yeah, and it was so poppy, but there was such political messages in all those songs from the Style Council. Which is what I
must give you a link to a San Francisco band called the Mummies. If you like a rocking keyboard, if you like someone who moves their keyboard around, the Mummies are a band who dress up as mummies. Their keyboard player drags this thing around like this. It's the great. They played in Sydney, and I saw them, and it was the greatest night of my life.
The Mummies. All right. So if every single musician was available, who would I love to have on the podcast? Number one, without any question of a doubt, would be Paul Kelly. I would love to just talk about cricket, talk about Norwood, talk about the early days, talk about, because if you talk about an artist that's constantly evolving, Paul Kelly's just got his niche. He can put anything out now and people would love it. So,
he's turned into Paul Kelly now.
Yeah. And
like he's a brand. You know him. You know his stuff.
Yeah. He's Australia's, I don't know, Bob Dylan.
Yeah.
Just thank God he doesn't play I Want to Be Like Billy Baxter anymore.
I love that song.
That's right, he did. That's right.
He bought the rights to that. He was given the rights and then immediately stopped getting it out there. So
I saw it at an underage show when I was like 15 or 16 with Paul Kelly and the Dots. Must have been the first time they came to Sydney. Yeah. And that was the only thing we knew. Like,
wow.
Yeah. But a close second would be Mick Thomas from Weddings, Parties, Anything. I'd love to bend his ear and have a beer with him, to be honest. So, and then probably a little bit more of a distance, I'd love to talk to Ignatius Jones.
And his sister. And his sister.
Monica Trapica.
I love Monica.
Yeah. I'd rather get Bill O'Riordan on, who's Jolene Hairmouth in Jimmy.
Well, look, I think, boys, we just need to put these names out there, and we'll get them. We'll get them in the next 100 episodes. You watch.
Ignatius is a raconteur.
Yeah, so and like he's been,
I love that word.
But he's been involved in like things like the Sydney, the Commonwealth Games opening ceremonies.
Vivid.
Mate, so I'd love to understand his journey and really just have a chat to him.
I saw him at the Menzel Room wearing a T-shirt that was made out of tripe.
Tripe. Yeah, there you go.
Tripe.
Wow.
In Arms and Legs was his band. But I love Jimmy and the Boys, man. What a great band
Jimmy
they
and
were.
The Boys. And once again, there's some really good life messages in some of their music. So.
Okay.
Second part of Who Am I, Braggy?
In the early 1960s, I arrived in Melbourne, where I briefly attended Taylor's College. Then I decided I wanted to become a disc jockey, so I studied at a radio school. When that didn't work out, I would go to the University of Melbourne without formally enrolling, carry law books, eat lunch with the law students, and avoid questions on what course I was taking. Having no stable accommodation, I moved in with the family of my close friend Ronnie Burns, who became a pop star. First as a member of the Flies and then as a solo artist. What had started as a 2-week stay with the Burns family became 9 years. In 1964, I saw the Beatles play at the Melbourne Town Hall, and later that same year, whilst on a surfing holiday in Lorne and Anglesey, I began my musical career as a roadie for my friend's band, The Group, whose keyboardist was Brian Cadd. Rossi's got it.
Yeah, Rossi's got it.
I reckon I got it. It's the Ronnie Burns that got me. Smiley.
Okay.
What a lovely song that was.
No,
Curly?
I'm still in the dark. I've got an idea, but
that's okay.
I'll
bring it home. I'll bring it home in the last section.
All
for
right,
for not just you two, but for everybody listening.
Yeah. So let's do some video, hey? We've got some people that have shared their videos.
I'm nervous.
So am I, to be honest. I've just got to make sure it all works. So,
this is some of the problems we encounter.
Yeah, every now and again we go, whoops. So here we go. So what's this one? It's called just talk amongst yourselves. No, it's
drinking a nice Tempranillo from the Barossa.
So the first one is from a good
I
friend
know
of the
that face.
podcast, and Rob Stanier, and this is a question for Tave.
Rob Stanier here again, and this is my question for Tave. Tave, I know you're a huge fan of the Beatles and the Rolling Stones, and I have 2 questions based on that. First of all, if you were the entity in charge of creating the world and everything in it, and you only had the option to create either the Beatles or the Rolling Stones, which band would it be? Which band would be the one that the world would only see? Secondly, imagine you get stuck into a time warp and the Beatles are recording Sgt. Pepper and the Stones are recording Exile on Main Street at exactly the same time. Brian Epstein calls you and says, Tave, Paul has got COVID and won't be able to record Sgt. Pepper. Can you please come in and put down all the bass tracks for us? On the same day, the Stones manager calls and says, hey, mate, Bill Wyman has contracted AIDS from a blood transfusion and can't record Exile on Main Street. Can you come in and play bass on all the tracks? Unfortunately, due to your rail motor commitments, you can only play on one album. So my question is, which album do you choose to play on and why?
Fucking hell.
Right.
So what's the first one? I've got to be God. I can only have...
You either create the Beatles or the Stones, and only one of the two.
Well, it's a no-brainer. I'm going to create the Beatles because there's probably no Stones without the Beatles. So that's easy. I'll create the Beatles, and then they write the first song for the Stones anyway. First hit.
Yeah.
So that's
second
easy.
One?
What's second one?
Second one, do you play sessions for the Stones or the Beatles?
I'm gonna play McCartney's. I'm gonna try and play that shit. I don't want to play Bill Wyman stuff. Yeah. Although, plus I don't want to be. Where were they in France somewhere when they did Exile on Main Street with lots of heroin? I don't want to be there. I don't think. I'd rather be Sgt. Pepper's.
I'd pick up the phone, ring my mate Lemmy Kilmister, and send him over to the Stones session because I want to hear that.
Yeah, that's a good. Hey, we'll have to do a thing once. I think that's a good idea. I've been thinking about this. We have to do a show once. You have to take someone from one band and put them in another band. Who would you do?
Oh, what would happen?
Yeah.
There you go. You could put Curly in any band in the world, and there would not be one iota of difference because
I'd put you up front. I'd put you up front and died pretty.
I'd do something.
You up front and died pretty. That'd be great.
Yeah, it'd be perfect.
I can see it now.
Yeah, me and Ron just connecting. All right. So, next question. This one is for me. All right.
Wee.
So this is,
Is it still
again,
Robbie? Is it
Rob.
still standing here?
It's still Robbie. Let's get him out of the way. He had the biggest questions.
Okay.
Like when you see my video, you'll see that it's actually written. So he actually took some time with it. So that's always a positive. Here we go.
Hey Curly, Rob Stanier here. I've got your question here. So here goes. This is for you, Curly. My question is to do with how you got from there to here. From your podcasts, I know of your love for punk and raw Oz rock, but I'd like to know whether it was a conscious change from that to a relatively clean living, married with kids, marathon loving, office working kind of guy that you are. Were you a nerd who loved punk or a punk who secretly had a soft, nerdy core? And what was it that took hold of you? Was it the music itself or the social interaction and the atmosphere of the events that you used to go to? Finally, when you hear new music in a similar vein today, does it still grab you as much as it used to?
Wow.
Okay. Yeah, deep, multifaceted questions.
He's assuming a lot about you.
I'm not a nerd, Rob. So
no, I would not have put you in that category.
And you don't play one on television.
So, all right. So, so what shifted in my life? So, fundamentally, leaving school was just eye-opening for me. I was a league and a cricket player, depending on what time of the year it was. I was, and then all of a sudden, the coming out of school, you certainly weren't as involved in sport. So, and I made a conscious choice. So I met a girl, and I'd signed a contract to play some higher level footy, but just never showed up because I'd met this girl. So, another English Rose from type person. So. Coming out of school, I started then just to tune into music. I was a training manager in the retail world, so I was still having that conservative type style. But I was playing up like a busted watch on a weekend, going to see as many bands as I could. I had a good core of friends. It was just a tremendous time. And then I guess where I am now is that a lot of it's through arse, I think. So you climb a corporate ladder wherever you are. And, at the end of the day, if you're there long enough, people finally get sick of seeing you and give you the next job up. But what I ultimately was the big shift in my life was meeting my wife. And, that just changed not who I was, but what I then wanted in life. And, all of a sudden those things that Rob talked about, those, being secure and being safe and, trying to convert my wife into some of the music. So that took center stage. And yeah, Rob, it still fires me up. I was talking to Rossi pre-podcast saying I've been listening to the Cosmic Psychos all week, just drilling it in because, I unfortunately didn't know a lot about them, and when Rossi called them the chats with the love child of the Cosmic Psychos, I said, I got to tune into these guys. I got to find out. I knew a little bit about them, but not a lot. But I love their music, and it's a lot of fun. There's a little bit of piss takes. There's a whole issue about what Australia is all about, and once again, there's a lot of references to pubs and drinking. And yeah, it still moves me. There's nothing better. I remember when Rat Cat brought out what was their first hit?
Don't Go Now.
Don't go now.
And I remember hearing that on commercial radio, and I was in Townsville at the time, and it still impacted me because I didn't mind Rat Cat. They told me that you're really bad news, and all of a sudden I'm just going, wow, so it still impacts me, Rob, and I still love it. So, Did I answer the question, guys?
Very good. Very, very succinct too, I must say.
Yeah, it was perfect. That was good.
Yeah.
Well
All
done,
right.
Ross.
So, great questions, Robbie Stanier. Our next question is from a great friend of the show and our very first international artist, if I remember rightly, Braggy, a gentleman called Shane Sigro from
I
Blind
love
Season.
Shane.
And he's got his the pup.
He's got his hound dog. Look at him. He's a gentle soul. I love him.
And once again, it's a great question. So here's Shane.
Hey guys, if you could live in any city in America in any time period for the music, which would you choose?
Very succinct, very deep.
Can I say something before? Curly, I love the way you've put the number, that episode that they were on the little thing. I don't know.
Yeah, go back and check it out. Yeah,
it's so
it's
cool.
Details
Thank you.
Matter.
Yeah, that's good. Who's up here for this one?
Who wants to go first? Well, I'll go first because and this may surprise just about everyone out there, but when I was a kid, I was a surfer. We were living at Maroochydore, and one of the big sounds that I remember, and this was late 70s, I guess, late 70s, early 80s, was the California beach sound. And you'd be tuning into movies like Gidget, and I had no idea how those people surfed in California in just shorts, because I don't know if you've ever been to California, the water is bloody freezing, but I would love to live at California or San Diego or San Francisco in that time that the surfing music and the
early
buzz
60s
was just sort of, oh mate, that would have been awesome. Big Wednesday style movie. That would have been just, that's me.
Mm-hmm. I'm going to go New Orleans in the 20s, at the birth of jazz, with Louis Armstrong playing on the riverboats with the fucking band, and because I think that's the spark of everything, and just that eating the gumbo and whatever else is down there, and that the food, and that's where I'm going to be. 20s, like it was free living. It was like the 20s is like the 60s. Yeah, stuck in between the wars.
Was that prohibition during that time?
Yeah, 20s. 20s, 30s was prohibition.
But you'd get around it if you're with the jazz band in New Orleans, surely.
I believe they'd have their smoking ceremony.
Yeah, that's where I am.
Yeah, and in a shocking development, you'd find me in the late 60s, early 70s up in Detroit. Following around the MC5 and the Stooges, a little bit of early Alice
Kick out
Cooper.
the jams, motherfuckers!
And then maybe you just bolt across to New York when CBGB's opened. I tell you, that's where you'd find me.
How unusual.
I know. It comes as a shock, doesn't it?
We would never have picked that one.
I want to see Sonic's Rendezvous band play live and doing city slang. That's what I want to see.
So that's Detroit.
Detroit,
Go to the
Where's Shane from?
CBG. There you go. CBGB's there in New York. And go to the Dunny there, and Rossi was here.
Whereas Sydney actually is a suburb of Detroit.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yes, it is. Yes,
plus
it is.
You get all the Motown stuff as well.
And Detroit had
Ted Nugent.
Rap. So Detroit's just this musical melting pot that they just keep throwing different styles in and different inspirations. And
Chicago's just around the corner, so there's all the blues stuff.
And it was Motor City, so you could have been driving, here and there in your Chevy or whatever, Oh, fuck yeah.
Yeah. So there you go, Shane. One of the panel would go to Detroit. So that's pretty cool. All right. Next up, we have our friend from Sale of the Century, Simon Fallon, who was on our podcast with 5 Songs of Meaning.
I believe he's our carryover champion.
Rossi's on fire.
And he is, isn't he? And knowing Simon as well as I do, he has gone deep. So Here we go. Sale of the Century, Simon.
Hi guys, great to be on the podcast again. Really enjoyed my time with you a couple of weeks ago. Question for both Braggy and Rossi. If the word music did not exist, what would you be doing in life? What would be your plan B? What would be your awesome skill or talent if music wasn't around?
Jesus Christ.
I'm glad that's for you guys.
I'm just going to let that go through to you, Rossi, first.
I just suspect there'd probably be some activism going on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I'd be doing. I'd be out rabble-rousing and causing trouble.
Okay.
That's right.
Which is only slightly different to what you do now.
Agitating for change.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Positive change.
Positive change, that's right. Incremental change as soon as practically possible.
Oh, wow. Hang on a sec. Incremental change as soon as practically possible.
Yeah.
Can we get that in the Pie song?
What about you, Braggy?
I reckon it'd have to be something to do with my hands, like, I don't know, being a bit of chippy, building furniture or fucking pottery, I don't know, something like that, I think.
Okay, because you are quite skilled in that area too, aren't you?
Oh, I think I am. I try to be, but I've got no training. But that's, yeah. If there was no music and I did that, yeah, or I don't know, I'd be a washed-up cricketer or something. I don't know.
Yeah, because
Sports commentator.
Yeah. Have you ever scored a century, Tape?
Yeah, of course, scored a few of those. Yeah.
The most I ever got was a half century on a very small ground.
Yeah.
And you, Rossi, were you a cricketer?
I was excited to get into double figures. I just get out there and just want to hit everything. It'd be like 16 or 0 for me.
All righty. So our next video question is from someone who hasn't been on the podcast yet. So, from Mick and Ursula. So we've had, of course, Mick on the podcast, but we haven't managed yet to get both Mick and Ursula. This is a question from Ursula, and it's to the panel, but it's probably more aligned to you guys. So let's see what happens.
Hi. So guys, when I saw Leonard Skinner's Sweet Home Alabama on the TV, probably on Countdown, I thought, gee, I'd love to be a backup singer like that. They look like they had so much fun. Who did you see on the TV, or which band did you see and you thought, wow, I'd like to be them? Thanks.
The product placement, the Mick Madoo Mesmerizer shirt. So beautiful.
There's a poster behind and he's wearing one of my T-shirts in it too.
So we cannot wait to get Mick and Ursula on the podcast.
Yeah, we got to get them on. It's going to be awesome.
Yeah.
Such
It'll be great fun.
Yeah,
good fun.
Lots of fun. So who was your inspiration? Who did you see on Countdown TV, or whoever wants to go first? Don't fight, boys.
Look, I'll go first.
Yeah, you go first.
I was 14. I saw Richie Blackmore's Rainbow at the Hard-Ons Pavilion in Sydney. And there was a petrol strike on, so you couldn't get petrol. And what happened was Richie came out for the encore but didn't set fire to his guitar. And there was a riot in the Hard-Ons Pavilion. And they were pulling chairs over and doing everything. And I thought, that sounds like fun. That seems like fun. I'd like to do more of that.
Cool. I think I was
Ronnie
probably
Dio was singing for him that night.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that's going to be cool. What a voice. I reckon I was about 8 or 9. Because I had an older brother, he was already into music and he had a fair vinyl collection. And one of the ones I really loved was Status Quo. on the level. And then I remember seeing them on Countdown, and then I didn't have a guitar. I didn't have a guitar till I was about 10, but I did have my brother's. Remember they used to do tech drawing? They had the old T-square.
Yep.
A big wooden T-square. So I used to grab that and stand in front of the mirror. And then when I saw a Status Quo and I saw him doing that, together, I thought, that's what I want to do. So I'd stand in front of the mirror with the T-square. Yeah.
So for the audio listeners, imagine Tave just doing the old Status Quo.
When the bass player and the guitar player, all three of them are all going back and forth the same, in unison. Yeah.
Yeah, and then they end up doing that Coles ad.
Yeah. Hey, you know what, Rossi? I saw them at Byron Bay, at the Byron Bay Rhythm, Blues and Roots, and they came on before everyone was there because Santana and Paul Simon, I think. Anyway, there was a big night, and I was standing. It was packed inside. It was raining outside as it usually does at Byron. It was packed inside this tent, and there was these two young fellas next to me who Status Quo was about to come on. They were doing the down, prices are down. Well, they came out and they just fucking took the fucking roof off that fucking joint. They started with down, and they just ripped it up. I loved it.
Yeah. It's still, and I mentioned Live Aid videos earlier.
Yes.
And that was the only way you could start Live Aid.
Rocking all over the world.
Rocking over the world.
Yeah. Well, but we did a festival in Spain. They were on the bill, and they came out on stage. It was in the Basque country, and he came out and he spoke to them in Spanish, and they didn't receive it all that well. And then he just goes, "Well, that's the last bit of fucking Spanish you'll get out of me tonight." That is fucking working class rock and rollers, man. Great.
I kind of relate them to AC/DC. They didn't want to do. They just wanted to play rock and roll. Nothing out of the ordinary. They didn't want to dress up. Wear my denim.
No.
And just play rock and roll. You got to admire that.
Yeah, look, it's what you got. You're not gonna get a ballad out of them.
No.
Mind you, Living on an Island on whatever album that was, Living on an Island. It's a beautiful song. That's beautiful acoustic song. So
yeah, you're not getting George Martin to put any strings on one of their records, are you?
Alrighty. Another good friend of the podcast is a gentleman we know as Waxy. So
my best mate. Here he comes.
He sent us a question, and as for the want of Braggy's mates, they're all extra deep. So here we go. This is Waxy.
G'day, Curly, Braggy and Rossi. Congratulations on your 100th show, guys, of Unfiltered and Undiscovered. As always, it's a pleasure to do anything with you guys on the show. My question is for all three of you. Now, because you all have such wide, diverse ranges of music taste, I'd like to know that if the three of you were in a band together, what is the one genre that you would all agree that you should play? I'll leave that one with you, and I look forward to hearing your answer on the show. Cheers from Agnes Water.
You gotta love him. Gotta love him.
Oh God! Oh, I don't know what you guys are thinking, but we got. There's two bass players. You playing bass, Rossi?
It's up to you, mate. I'll have a crack at guitar if you need me to.
Okay. What are you on, Kelly?
Triangle or something. So.
He's the singer. He's the front man.
Yeah, you're definitely the front man.
Can I just say, Waxy, I think if there's going to be the occasional song in the set that would resonate with all three of us, it's potentially the Sunday session style music.
Maybe I'm thinking
sitting around a campfire, smoking ceremony, maybe having a couple of cold beers, tuning out to some acoustic stuff. I reckon that might be in the mix somewhere.
Oh, but yeah.
Dylan-ish.
Oh, you reckon? I'm thinking
outside of that, it's
I'm thinking like Mick and Ursula, like punk country.
Yeah, we can
country punk. I reckon.
Like a bit like the Johnnies?
Yeah,
Wow.
maybe, yeah.
Ooh, yeah. I like the
They
Johnnies.
tell me you're pretty good. Don't you know you're in our neighborhood?
Yeah.
Got a bit low down. Oh, I'm actually seeing Hoodie on Friday night. Actually.
Listen, we'd cut each other down to size. Something's been missing. What's that song?
Bit of cowpunk.
Cowpunk.
So,
yeah.
Cowpunk, Waxy.
Cowpunk it is. Cowpunk, Waxy. Yeah, that'll sit me down to the ground.
Anything with downstrokes?
All downstrokes. All downstrokes.
All downstrokes. Hey, actually, Curly, that's one of the problems we encountered, me upsetting the guests.
I think Chris enjoyed his time on the show. So
I think so too.
I think he was more upset about Hush thing than you. So.
I bet you he was.
We were listening to shit like Hush.
and he would say
it.
There would be a disdainful look you would get.
Yeah, no, we loved our interview with Chris, and hopefully we can have a chat to him when he comes back to Australia. That would be awesome. I think we've grown since then, Braggy, would you say?
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
Yeah.
We're a little bit more confident.
We were so nervous, Rossi, talking to someone like Chris Mazawak.
Oh, Mazawak, yeah.
Look, it can be a bit intimidating.
Yeah, he's just so smart.
His knowledge, yeah. He could talk about. He was talking about European history and all these people massing on the borders in ancient ruins, and I'm just sitting here thinking, this guy stands on stage for the Screaming Tribesmen as one of the best guitarists I've ever seen.
Yeah,
and here he is talking about Roman history.
Yeah. It is. It's always a free ranging discussion with our mate Maz.
Oh, absolutely. So, absolutely. So, Waxy, I hope that answered your question. One of our favourite little segments that we've had is with a band called Pocketwatch, and we love these guys. And they've got a pretty in-depth question for us. So.
Hi, Curly and Braggy. Congratulations on 100 shows. And we have a question for you. Our question for you is, who's your favourite band out of Punchbowl? Be honest. Let us know.
Hey, they got fucking attitude, haven't they, already? That's all, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's all you need.
Yeah, I know. Now, my guess is my favourite band out of Punchbowl can't be the Hard-Ons, so it might be the Ramrods. Paul Keating used to manage them. He was our local member.
Well, like, I had to actually. You go, Curly.
Yeah, you go. No,
I had to look it up to see what other and I think actually I do remember somewhere along the line. I think Rossi might have said that the Hard-Ons came from there. So I'm going to say at the moment it's the Hard-Ons, but soon to be replaced by Pocketwatch.
Yeah,
once that EP is out.
Look, and once again, I did some Googling around best bands that come out of Punchbowl, and unfortunately, there's not a lot of to choose from. But one of the things that I found was this legacy that the Hard-Ons have, like Punchbowl stayed high.
Yeah,
there's bands that are coming through there all the time, and most of them are named after the room of their favourite music teacher. I think they're
320.
Yeah, that's it.
320.
So and there's a real history and a legacy that the Hard-Ons have left with that school, and I think that is such a cool thing.
They went back there not long ago, actually.
Yeah.
But I will say that of the bands I've seen in Punchbowl, I actually saw XTC play Punchbowl.
Okay.
Wow. Okay.
And the Romantics, who did What I Like About You on that tour.
Yeah.
And they were a Detroit rock and roll band. And sadly, I do think currently, the Hard-Ons haven't been to Punchbowl for a while, so Pocketwatch still actually play here.
So just for our listeners, the odds that the closing song this episode might be one of the best bands that came out of Punchbowl. So we'll see what we can dig up. So do we agree that it's the Hard-Ons? It's not the Ramrods?
Yeah, it is. Yeah. No, yeah.
Only for a little while. Only for a little. Their time is limited, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. We're going to see
actually, they're doing some more recording. They're in the studio on Saturday, and Angus was doing some guitar guidelines, and he played them. He said, "What do you think?" And I said, "Well, I think you know what I think." He goes, "Yeah. When I track the actual line, it'll be all downstrokes."
Oh my God! All right. We've got 2 more questions to go, and these are from absolute favourites of ours on the podcast. The first one is from a great friend of ours who is in Nashville, Tennessee. And Braggy says she's one of the hardest working ladies in country music, Allison Asarch, and she asked this question.
Hey, Curly and Braggy, it's Allison Asarch all the way from Nashville, Tennessee. I just want to say congratulations on 100 episodes. That is so amazing. I'm so excited for you. So my question is for you, Braggy. If you were in any country music band, who would you see yourself playing in that band with? Could it be anyone I would know now, or someone from back in the day, or someone from Australia? I don't know. But y'all are amazing, and I'm so excited for y'all.
I love the way she says, is it someone I'd know or someone back in the day? Was she having a dig at our age there?
I think so. But how? She's just always positive. She's always up.
She is. So before I'm going to... Rossi, how would you answer that? If you saw yourself on stage with a country music band, which band would that be?
I'd want to play with an outlaw country band, I reckon, but I wouldn't mind having a crack with Dwight Yoakam.
Yes, you're a man after my heart, Rossi.
Guitars and Cadillacs, man.
One of the best albums ever. So
it is.
Yeah. All right, so who are you going for, Braggy?
You know what? I looked at this question yesterday because you sent them through, so I can't. It's not off the top of my head. But this is one of the few that I just straight away bang the Dixie Chicks without a problem. They're politically aware. Because they're politically aware for a country band for a start, which I really like, and great harmonies. I just love them, and they got a good sense of humour too. Earl Had to Die.
They're good.
You heard that song? I love the Dixie Chicks.
Good. They're a good band, man. They're great.
Solid as, man. They're all great musos as well, not just singers.
Yeah.
And without a doubt, Dixie Chicks. I'm there.
Nice answer.
Thank you.
I'll join you.
Okay.
You want to be the rhythm section?
Two bass players.
Drum, you can play bass. No, you play bass. I'll drum. Country's just 2 and 4 in it.
That's it, mate.
There you go. There you go, Allison. The 2 boys are joining up with the Dixie Chicks. So that's pretty cool. Our last question, and you may have noticed for those watching on the video that we've had Allison 3 times on the podcast.
Yes, I saw that.
No doubt we will enjoy her company again. The next gentleman that we have, and this is the last question, the final question was, I believe outside of Braggy was the first person we had musically on the podcast, a gentleman called Sean Frazer from the Ritzy Kids. He's also been on the podcast 3 times.
Shawnee Bear.
And the man with the worst internet in the world. And here's his question.
Hello, Rossi, Braggy and Curly. 100 episodes of your podcast. That is quite a feat. Well done. Congratulations. This one's for you.
Oh, good boy.
I have a drink for you. My question to you guys is favourite bass player. Let's go top 3 bass players. Who are each of you individually your top 3 bass players? I'm curious.
He's curious.
Who's going first?
I was just going to say, I was just
I'll
about
go first.
My top three would be Braggy, Rossi, and whoever was the bass player in The Cure. So, no, that was my initial thought. But anyway, we'll go to Braggy first. Top three, mate. Top three bass players.
I have to say, the Inflictor from the Psychedelic Turnbuckles would have to be no.
And no one knows who any of those psychotic turnbuckles are.
That's my number 4. That's my number 4. I was starting from 4.
Look, he was a close, too close not to mention.
This is a hard question. I had to really think about this. I'm glad you sent this one through first. So I'm going to go with one probably a lot of people, bass players, would, because I'm originally a bass player. I'm still am. I can't fucking play guitar for shit. But James Jamerson, the way he moved around on all those Motown hits, just incredible, just melodic. And I think even he influenced McCartney as well. It made McCartney.
We talk about him.
Yeah, go on.
We talk about him at work a fair bit, and because he's famous for saying, "So, what sort of strings do you use on your bass?" He goes, "They were on it when I bought it."
Yeah.
Wow.
There you go. So yeah. So he's in the top 3. There's another guy I don't know if Rossi might know, but I don't know if other people know. It's a guy called Jerry Schiff, who played with Elvis when Elvis was doing the Vegas time, not when he was really fat, but when he just going. Jerry Schiff he just moved. He had walking basses. When Elvis was doing covers of like Proud Mary, I just loved that sort of shit. He was an amazing player. Yeah. And I think he played with Chicago, or was that his son?
Yeah,
I'm not sure.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. And then I don't know if you guys into jazz much, but there's a piano player called Oscar Peterson, and he had a bass player called Ray Brown, upright bass player, and I love him as well. Listen, with people listening, check all those 3 guys. I'm going to throw one more in. There's a band called Wolfpack, and the Joe Dart. He's only recent. He's fucking he's amazing. So type in Joe Dart and have a look at him.
As a bass player again, I've got a few. Now, of course, I can't not mention Sir Paul. Sir Paul McCartney is, did it all, invented stuff and wrote stuff and did stuff. You just got to have Paul. Paul's got to be in my list.
Yep.
Another one I really like, and it's funny you mentioned, I love Stanley Clarke.
Oh yeah,
like Stanley, man, like he was an 18-year-old prodigy. He was just Billy Cobbins playing for him, and John McLaughlin, and everybody in the world just blew his mind.
Yes.
But then you just take a complete sharp, hard turn left, and my number 1 bass player is Ian Lemmy Kilmister.
Fuck yeah.
King of Motorhead. King of Motorhead.
Yeah.
Ex-Hawkwind, the greatest bass player of all time. There is nothing that was not rock and roll without Lemmy. Look, Lemmy said about the Rolling Stones, he said, I don't know why everyone thought they were hard men. I grew up with the Beatles. The Beatles were Ringo's from Dingley, which is like the Liverpool's version of the Bronx. The Rolling Stones were just posers who moved to London and went to art school. I know who I'd want to have in a fight with on my side, and that's the Beatles. That's why I love Lemmy. And my honourable mention of bass players, my favourite Australian bass player is a guy called Phil Hall, who was in the Drop Bears, the Lime Spiders. He's playing with John Kennedy, if you've heard of John Kennedy. He's my favourite Australian bass player.
That's what I've got to check out then. That's what I don't know.
Filthy Phil Hall played the Lime Spiders and the Drop Bears, and I love him. He's my favourite. He's got the best collection of basses I know.
Okay, I reckon Lemmy. Well, I reckon Lemmy's got a lot of downstrokes in his bass playing.
Oh boy, has Lemmy got downstrokes. Oh, I know a chick who went to the Rainbow in LA where he kind of had a spot at the bar. She said she was standing there and there was this smell, and she went, "What the hell is that?" She turned around, it was him.
Oh, Lemmy. Hasn't he got a statue there at the Rainbow? He's got a statue of him.
He has got a statue at the Rainbow.
So good.
He was so rock and roll. So rock and roll.
So when I thought about bass players, all I could really think about, because I'm not as tuned into it as to you guys, the bass line in Primary by The Cure is just one of my all-time favourites. So I have no idea who the bass player was that laid that down, but it's great. The Scientists, in Swampland, there's a reoccurring bass line sitting in there. But, if I've got to name three people, I'd have to go one of my favourite bands, Screaming Tribesmen, and Bob Wackley, who's a Townsville boy, I believe.
He is, Bobby.
So we'll go Bob. We'll go for Paul Simonon from The Clash.
Yes, not bad. Yes.
And we'll finish the list with Bruce Foxton from The Jam. So
yes, three very good choices.
Yeah, you know what you're doing. You know what you're doing, Curly.
Yeah.
Without as much depth as you guys, and you guys get into the intricacies, I just love to see these guys.
No, you've got a style. There's a certain style that weaves through those three guys.
Yeah. So
that was fun.
Oh my! Here comes the final part. Oh, you'd forgotten.
I did. Okay. You're right. Where do we leave off? Oh, he'd just become a roadie for the band called The Group that had Brian Cadd in it.
Yep.
Early in 1966, I walked into the office of Tony Schauble, the editor of Go Set, a weekly pop newspaper, and asked for a job. I began sweeping floors. Eventually, I was asked to contribute, and my first printed interview was with Johnny Young, a singer-songwriter from Perth. Soon, I was writing a weekly gossip column and regular features. My writing style was free-form ramblings, always in the first person, and nearly always concerning aspects of the music scene with which I had been involved. Later that year, when the group landed a record deal with CBS, I followed them to Melbourne's Armstrong Studios, where I learned record producing and engineering techniques from studio owner Bill Armstrong. In January 1968, I relocated to London, reporting for Go Set, and extended my networking contacts by meeting Apple Corporation's executive Terry Doran, who introduced me to my idols Lennon and McCartney. In September, I became the manager and the producer of Russell Morris and produced Morris's first solo single, a Johnny Young composed song, The Real Thing. Returning to Australia in the early 70s, I continued writing for the music press and producing, eventually making the best career move of my life by taking up an offer from the ABC to be the talent coordinator and subsequent host of pop music show Countdown. My name is...
Molly Meldrum.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well done, Curly. That's 2 in a row.
Mate, it was only bloody the last bit. I had no idea about the rest. So
The Real Thing's a piece of art.
Yeah.
Such a it was anti-Vietnam. It was such but Ronnie Burns.
Is that where you figured it?
Yeah, Ronnie Burns.
Look, I get my info from most of it's from Wikipedia, right? But other places, but I had to cut out. There was just so much. It's such a fascinating read. If you go to Wikipedia and read about Molly's.
He's done so much stuff, that guy.
It's mind-blowing.
Done so much.
He produced Godspell, the first version of Godspell on stage here.
Yeah.
And produced Colin Hewitt's. Yeah, it's just,
It is
day by day.
It is a huge legacy to Australian music.
He's been a booster, although he did sign Indecent Obsession.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's all right.
Hey,
and Supernaut.
That's right. Everyone makes mistakes. That's right.
Do yourselves a favour. So
I just like his balls. I just like his balls. With everything he did, he just went, I can fucking do that. And just walked in and go, I can do it. You know, that's what I love about him.
It reminds me of the story. Yeah, so Robert Helpman, the dancer, ballet dancer, right? He'd had three dancing lessons before he set up his own dancing school.
There you go.
He was teaching him in the fourth lesson what he learned in the first.
There you go.
But Molly was like, he's a national treasure. He really is.
Yes.
Like he has been a booster for Australian bands forever and a day.
He's given so much.
Yeah.
Even
Absolutely.
if he does support the Melbourne Storm.
Yeah, and St Kilda. So, all right. So, guys, what a great episode.
Hey, give yourself a pat on the back, Curly.
Well, and thanks to Rob Stanier. What a great idea.
It was his idea. That's right. We should pay some respects there.
Yeah.
Well done, Robbie.
Respects to Rob. So, your thoughts? Diving deep into some of those answers, gentlemen?
Look, my thoughts, I'm just looking forward to another 100 episodes. And I think we just need to make these things come to fruition. Paul Kelly and, you know, we need to make that happen somehow.
So if there's links out there in the audience and friends of a friend of a friend of a friend, just let's make them happen. Put it out to the universe. It'd be awesome to get. I'd love to, as I was saying, Ignatius Jones would be just awesome. So I think his story. So,
I love Ignatius.
Yeah. He's considering what he was like on stage with Jimmy and the boys to who he is now is just incredible.
I'm just not sure he's changed much.
Yeah, I think probably deep down there's but still anyway. So episode 100, we're going to take a little break because I'm running the Boston Marathon. So 101 will be more towards maybe the end of April. So please dig into some of those episodes that, especially if you're watching on the video, dig into some of those episodes. A big shout out to, Cat Gunn, our country music correspondent, Big Stew, Rob Stanier, Shane Sigro, Sale of the Century, Simon, Ursula, Waxy, Pocketwatch, Allison Asarch and Sean Frazer for sending us through great questions for the panel. Just
awesome. Made the show.
It just really humbles me when you reach out and you put out a request, and the next day you've got a video there from someone that you just enjoy interacting. It's amazing. So don't forget our community song. It's on our Facebook page. We really want to drive a great Australian classic about Australia, great Australian classic, the Servo Pie. Any ideas whatsoever, you just send them through and somehow we'll get them into a song and we'll all get some credits. We're not going to make anyone rich out of the song. I might just throw that out there, but
hey, you never know.
You never know, but you may at least be able to say, check this song out on Spotify and check out the song credits on it because my name is on there. So,
maybe if we mention 4 and 20, we might get it, or Belfast, if you're from South Australia.
What rhymes with 20?
Plenty.
If you enjoyed the episode, please like, subscribe, leave a review. We're on YouTube, Facebook, TikTok. Check out our website at unfilteredandundiscovered.com. Every song we mention, of course, goes into our Unfiltered and Undiscovered playlist on Spotify. Lyrics from the playlist, and this is one of the very first songs we featured on the podcast, a song called Breakthrough by the Ritzy Kids. And the lyrics, soak it up. If you blink, you'll miss it. One day you'll wish you did it all. Dream big, you can make it happen. And that's, I think, a fitting way to end our 100th episode. Rossi and Braggy, it's been an absolute honor doing this and so much fun. I love it. Until episode 101, towards the end of April, I'll see you gentlemen later, and I'll see everyone else.
Safe running.
Safe running, and good luck to the Dragons.
Yeah.
Hey y'all, I'm Allison Asarch from Nashville, Tennessee.
Hey, I'm Sean Frazer from the Ritzy Kids.
Hunters, this is Johnny from Rail Motor.
Hey, it's Shane from Blind Season.
Hey, it's Rob Stanier, and you can check out my music on all the streaming platforms.
Check out my latest music on all the streaming sites.
Check out my debut album on all streaming platforms.
Check out our new debut album.
Check us out on Spotify and Apple Music. And you're listening to our friends, Braggy and Curly.
My favorite bands from Australia.
My two favourite podcasters,
Braggy and Curly.
Braggy and Curly.
On the
Unfiltered and Undiscovered Podcast.